Not. So for this week, gotta give you a layout of what's going to go on this week, going into your spring break for next week. We're going to go back today and look at one section of that DBQ that we went over, the Jamestown part. Have a class discussion on that one. Come up with 5 points that were positive. Come up with 5 points that negative. It's kind of decipher some data that goes on there about why Jamestown itself wasn't as successful as it should have been. Tomorrow, the next day, so Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll go over section 3, Atlantic slave trade, section 4, the idea of the Columbian Exchange. Thursday, I'll give you a review for chapter 20 test. We'll watch History of Mankind. That way we will take a test on chapter 20 on Friday. Okay, so that'll put you together for the entire week, and that'll roll you in. So we got to get this test in before we go to spring break, so there's not a lag of kind of information available whenever you get done and get back from spring break. I don't want to have to hang over chapter 20 all the way through spring break and do it there. So, all right. Was there anybody that was absent on Thursday or Friday of last week? If you were, come up here, grab one of these.
The
Packet, the DBQ part.
but I lost it.
Make sure you grab one of those. So if you need to get one of those, go ahead and grab one of those. For 7th period, if you need to go up here, sub should have packets that are sitting up on the desk. You're welcome to get those. All right, everybody good on that? All right. So let me read you a little intro to kind of what Jamestown was, and then we'll get into this discussion of this DBQ right here. It says the explorations of Spanish and French inspired the English. In 1606, a company of London investors received from King James a charter to found a colony in North America. The key part was a group of London investors. Okay. In late 1606, the company's 3 ships and more than 100 settlers pushed out of an English harbor. About 4 months later, so it took them 4 months to get all the way across the Atlantic to where they were going to go in North America. In 1607, they reached the coast of Virginia. The colonists claimed the land as theirs, and they named the settlement Jamestown in honor of their king. The colony's start was disastrous, though. The settlers were more interested in finding gold than in planting crops. There was also a lot of bad timing on this. By the time that they got over there, it was one of the harshest winters that Virginia was going to have. They weren't necessarily ready for the winter that was going to hit. It wasn't similar to what they were used to in Europe. A lot of other factors that we'll kind of get into when we start talking about this discussion. It says during the first few years, 7 out of every 10, so 70% of the people that arrived died. Okay, they died from hunger, they died from disease, or they died from a battle with Native Americans. Despite their nightmarish start, the colonists eventually gained a foothold in their new land. Jamestown became England's first permanent settlement in North America. The colony's outlook improved greatly after farmers there discovered tobacco. High demand in England for tobacco turned it into a profitable cash crop. Also opened up the idea of triangular trade, and then the overall idea of what Columbian Exchange is from back and forth. All right, so going back over to the DBQ part, and we can just look up on the board. All right, I'm going to give you about 5 to 8 minutes, and what I want you to do is I want you to look at the column on the left. It says 1607. All right, that is that 4-month journey. That's who got on the boat. Tells their occupation, tells what they did, tells how many of them, all 110. Okay. I want you to discuss here in about 5 minutes, what are 5 mistakes, in your opinion? And there's more than 5, but we're just going to go over 5. What are 5 mistakes, in your opinion, that those people made on setting up their journey to the Americas? All right. So I'll give you about 5 minutes to look over. Right here, the original settlers of May 1607, and then we're going to talk about it as a class. A gentleman says at the bottom was a person of wealth. who was not used to working with their hands. Okay. Right here underneath preacher, that's just the root word for what we know as boy. Okay. So whenever you talk about boy that's there, that's what it is. It's just a younger adolescent male that's there. Okay. All right. So look over this about 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about what are some of the 5 mistakes that they made. Barnes, you can't drink that in class.
Only if it's diet free.
This is zero sugar.
Yeah, you're allowed to drink those.
Oh,
They give them out as
Yeah.
material.
that's fine. You're not going to drink it in my class because I don't want it spilled on the floor. I understand, Barnes. I also know you.
Okay, what?
Be very prone to an accident.
What's wrong?
No.
What does this packet do?
What's up today? If you were going to track me, you're good. Those other ones have 2 days, so y'all would be doing all Wednesday. You had a chance to look at it.
What?
Raise your hand. Tell me one thing that you noticed that's a glaring problem with how they have things set up in 1607. Martin?
Why would they bring 47 gentlemen? They can't do anything.
Okay, so too many gentlemen. All right, and if you look at the percentages on there, if there's 110 people that came over and 47 are there, honestly, about half of the population is going to be gentlemen. Okay, so you ask the question, why did they bring so many gentlemen? If all of us walk down to the port, we've traveled to Corpus Christi, Galveston, we're about to try to get on a cruise ship. What are they going to ask us for before we can actually get on the cruise ship?
Your COVID shot record.
Okay. More importantly than that. Okay. More important than that. What's that? Okay. Money. You got a ticket. You have had to have paid for your entrance on to that boat. Okay. So in order for these people to get on this boat, somebody had to pay for it. All right. There's not just money flying around everywhere in 1607. So half of the people that were there were businessmen who didn't do work with their hands because they made money on their other business ventures. So therefore, they were ones that could pay for the trip. That's the reason why a lot of gentlemen were brought on the trip right there. Okay. Give me something else. What else is a glaring problem? Yes, sir.
Not enough apothecary.
Okay, so if we look right here at the idea of apothecary or someone who's a pharmacist to us in terms, and then you look right below it also, there's a surgeon. All right, so out of 110 people, there is only one person that could provide medicinal help to someone. Okay, so basically only one doctor. All right, what happens if that one doctor gets sick? You're in trouble. Everybody's in trouble. All right. So if we said that over 70% of the people that made this trek died, there's probably a good chance that that one doctor, that one surgeon didn't make it. You know what I mean? And if you don't have somebody to take care of the person that takes care of everybody, then you're in big trouble. All right. So medicinal values, and that kind of shows a little bit about what do you think that these people thought that the trip was going to be like? Did you think that they thought it would be a struggle? Or do you think that they thought it was going to be pretty easy? They were just going to go over there and claim this land and look for values and riches and gold and then come back home. Okay. Pretty much they thought it was going to be easy. And they were quickly mistaken whenever they got there. All right, so that's 2 good examples. What else?
Why didn't they bring me gunsmith?
Okay. So someone to create guns. There's a blacksmith that's here, there's a carpenter, but someone overall to be able to produce guns, which in turn during that time in Europe were going to be a big deal because that would have definitely leveled out the playing field, right? With Native Americans. I mean, that gun, anyone we talked about the idea with, guns versus samurai warriors, anyone is able to equate and be equal versus that. You just put a gun in their hand and they're back on task, but if they don't have anybody to perform that, they don't have anybody to make guns, okay? Nobody to make guns or fix them. What else? Yes, sir.
Why are there no refiners or goldsmiths if they're going to look for riches?
Okay, so there's no refiners, there's no of goldsmiths if they are looking for the treasure that's there. Go back to the same thing, and we'll look at this in 1608. Jewelers, same thing. If they're going to look for gold, if they're going to look for riches, why did they not bring someone to tell them, hey, this is what you want? Okay, so if looking for gold, there is no refiners or goldsmiths or jewelers. That's what we'll put jewel, goldsmith, or refine. Okay, what else? There's one that is extremely glaring, like the most glaring problem that's up there. Yes, sir.
Why is there one bricklayer?
Okay, so you got one bricklayer, you got one mason, those tie together. All right, there is 4 carpenters, so that's going to be the people that are actually going to build the houses that are there. Then you're stuck with 47 people to watch you and wait for you to build their house that's on there. So it wasn't necessarily well planned out. If something happens to one of those people, you're stuck with no shelter in the winter. Again, 70% of the people died, so more than likely it was one of them. So then you're stuck with no shelter and having to figure out a way to build your own shelter. Okay, something else is more glaring to you. And again, there's a lot of them, but ladies, you got the answer to this one? 0 females. Okay, no females. All right, so this is easy because of multiple reasons. Number one, okay, I'll give you a personal example. If my wife left the house for even a period of a week, 2 weeks, there ain't no telling what that house is going to look like whenever she comes back in. I may try my best, all right, but it's probably not going to be up to a woman's standard. We're probably going to eat out a bunch. All right, I'm probably ordering stuff. We may have some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but I mean, I'm not cooking a meal every single night. You know what I mean? I'm also probably going to have laundry piled up till the weekend as compared to doing it on a daily basis. All right? The organizational level of a woman far superior than a man. This fact. Okay. Even if you go back to hunter and gatherer societies, the hunters were the ones that went out and provided the meat to bring back to the civilization, the community that was honestly taken care of by the women. Okay. They were very, very valuable to the organizational level and the success of what that civilization was. Women are also very good at telling men what they're doing wrong. Okay. Honest fact. So therefore, whenever all of these men that had no idea what they were doing because they were not laborers, the women weren't there to be able to kind of nudge them in the right direction. Okay. They weren't able to have a different perspective of what the idea was. On top of all that, if you're going to make a civilization, okay, morale for the men that are there would have been so much higher if there was even a glimmer of hope that you would have a girlfriend, that you would have the possibility of a wife, or that you would have the possibility in the end to grow your settlement based upon childbirth. But there's no option for that because it's 110 men and 0 females. All right. A lot of reasons why that bringing along at least 10 females would have been very beneficial to the original settlement. Okay. So now we look at the other side. They have a year. They've struggled. They've gone through. 70% of them are dead. This other group doesn't necessarily know what they're going into. They're hoping that they're going to find this big, thriving settlement that's there. But all of a sudden, they come over in 1608. What was wrong with who was resupplied? I need 5 things on 1608. What was wrong with them resupplying, and what mistakes did they still make based upon resupplying in 1608? Remember, we kind of talked about this in the history of mankind. Native Americans kind of lent a hand to this because the idea of growing crops was not the same soil type. Okay. The idea of having corn as a successful crop that was grown to be able to sustain your food, that wasn't found out until the Native Americans necessarily kind of help out. The idea of defending yourself. Native Americans honestly probably helped them due to the fact of they didn't see them as a threat because they were so depleted. You know what I mean? If there's 100 of you show up on 3 boats and all of a sudden you've only got 30 people left, you're not necessarily threatened by those people anymore. Okay, so I want you to look at the second column. Give you about 5 minutes and we're going to talk about those and what are 5 reasons on that one. 1608. All right, 1608. Tell me some mistakes they made. They already have gone through 1607. They're down to 30 people left. All right. What are some of the problems that they still have left over? Yes, sir. Okay. No carpenters. All right. They didn't bring any more. If those 4 passed away, they got nobody to build a house. Okay. Same thing with bricklayers. Same thing with masons. All right. If only 30% is left, if any of those people have passed away, they have no experience with anyone to build a civilization. All right. So again, take into account only 30% left. They have nobody to build. Okay. No females. All right. Had another option, had another chance. All right. Go from 110. They bring another 120. No females still. Why do you think that would be?
They couldn't take care of themselves.
Okay, possibly as far as that goes, as to where, you're already bringing gentlemen, and those are guys that don't know how to work with their hands. So therefore, the only women that were really probably going to be able to come over were going to be higher aristocratic, richer type women that definitely weren't going to necessarily get dirty and go in and perform the farming work that needed to be done. All right. So to them at the time, it was just going to be, hey, honey, I'm going over there to find us some gold, going to find us some riches, going to come back and we'll make money. You know, you can stay at home on this one, hang out at the castle. Okay. So it wasn't necessarily that the type of women that were going to come. But again, there's no females also again. All right. What else? What else? What about the last one? Nobody said anything about that one on either column right there. Yes, ma'am. Okay, too many unknowns. So you're bringing somebody over, they're getting on the ship, but you have no idea what their qualifications are. You have no idea what they're going to bring to the team. You have no idea how they're going to help you survive. But one thing that is guaranteed, they're going to have to be somebody who's fed. You know what I mean? They're going to be somebody who takes away from your overall food source. However, you have no idea what they can help you with. Right? You're going to want to know, just like when we were saying, hey, before you get on this cruise ship, what are some things you got to have? And you guys said, you know, identification, a passport, things that say, this is who I am. And essentially, this is what I do. Right? But they went in because these people could pay for the venture. They used it as money and as backing along with the gentleman, and they had no idea what these people could do. But they were going to let them on because they needed the money to get there. Okay. So the idea of the unknown. Would you have wanted to know exactly who's going with you to make the civilization successful? Pretty much. I mean, I want to know who's going with me and what you're going to bring to the table. Because if not, I'm not letting you on the boat. I'm taking another guy that's a mason, another guy that's a carpenter, another guy that's a surgeon or a pharmacist to help keep me alive. Okay.
That's like for the.
Yes. All right. Give me two more. Yes, sir.
Not enough surgeons.
Okay. So they don't replenish any of it, right? They got one and then they got two pharmacists. All right. Let's take that to the other side of this story here. A tailor, a drummer. All right. A barber. So in the beginning, they were more concerned with getting their hair cut than they were having someone to build them a house. The exact same number of people. All right. At the same time, there is same concern of having someone to tailor their clothes or someone to play the drums for entertainment than they were of someone being able to defend or keep themselves alive. So then you even flash forward over to 1608. Look how many tailors they brought in 1608. 6 of them. All right. Because at this time, a year later, they were like, okay, well, these people found all this stuff. It's going to be time for us to make money. We're going to bring over there and they're going to want brand new clothes. They're going to want to be able to, display their new duds. So we're going to bring a tailor, 6 of them to outfit the entire company. Well, only 30 of them are left. So therefore, they're not going to have anybody. They survived a harsh winter. They don't have anybody to actually buy these suits. So they've wasted. All right. So bad occupations. All right, give me one more. Give me one more. Not all at one time. What about a preacher? Why would they bring a preacher the first time? Okay, for them to have church also. Okay, the other part of that would have been because probably a missionary was going to be established. Probably the idea of reaching out to the lost, reaching out to the new people that they come into encounter with over there. That's also going to gain you funding from the church in England. They didn't bring any other preachers. Therefore, they didn't have any more funding that goes with it. But the thing is, does your money matter once you get to the U.S.? Jamestown. Does the money matter? No. Because money's nothing to Native Americans. You know what I mean? Trade was big, but money wasn't. So it didn't matter how much money you had in your wallet. It was going to be of zero value for trade. Okay, so the idea of bringing people that brought stuff to the table, whether it be laborers, whether it be traders, whether it be people that could help you into the beginning, it wasn't set up real well. Jamestown wasn't a great start, but it survived. And once it survived, it made where more and more and more influx of English people began to come to the Americas. And eventually, of course, will lead to the 13 colonies, will lead to the United States, all right, and will lead to what we are today. Okay. What I need you to do for the remainder of the class period on this one, you're not going to do section 1 quiz, but you're going to go to chapter 20, section 2. There's 7 true or false questions that are there. All right. Use your book, slow it down, make sure whatever you're putting in there for that true and false pops up correctly. All right. Chapter 20, section 2. The beginning of it is located on page 561. All right, so you'll go back to page 561 and you will fill out your true false questions for chapter 20, section 2. And that is all for today. You may got any questions? Perfect.